So in our last section, we went over trade discounts. And if you recall, we had a list price, which was the full price. From that list price, we subtracted that trade discount. And we went over how you calculated that discount in the last section. And the result is your net price. This net price is the price that's going to go on the invoice. And our next step is to talk a little bit about that invoice. So there are a few key things that go on the invoice. One, of course, is a date. It might be listed as May 18th. Of course, a year could be on there as well. Let's just do 2019. The other thing that goes on there is an amount, and that is going to be that net price that we calculated up here from our trade discount. That's going to be the amount that goes in there. So for right now, we're just going to fill in an amount. I'm going to make it $1,800. The part that we need to discuss is this next part. This is very important. That's the terms of sale. The terms of the sale include a lot of different features, one of which is freight. Who pays the freight? That can either be paid by the seller or by the buyer. The other, there's a couple of features that are defined. One is called a discount period. If one exists, what is the length of the discount period? And what's the percent of the discount, the actual discount? What the discount period is it's a period at the very beginning. If you pay early, you're going to get an additional discount for paying early because that supplier wants their money as soon as they can, that producer. So if they can get their money early, they're going to give you that little incentive. And then there's the credit period. I should say discount period here. The credit period, that's the amount of time you have to pay. Full payment is due by the end of that credit period. If you haven't made the full payment by the end of that credit period, most invoices and sales contracts will include now interest gets charged after that point. You're going to pay extra if you don't have it paid up by that point. So the freight is pretty simple. The freight simply, who pays? And the term that's used there is usually the term free on board. FOB stands for free on board. It's a little bit backwards feeling, but what it really is stating is who does not pay. Who is it free for? FOB shipping point means it's free at the shipping point. So the seller is at the shipping point, so it's free for the seller, which means the buyer pays. FOB destination, well, destination is where it's going to end up. That's where the buyer is. So that means it's free to the buyer, so the seller pays. Unless it is explicitly stated otherwise, the buyer pays the freight. Now, a lot of times, even though the buyer is the one that's going to pay the freight, the shipper isn't going to load up that merchandise and deliver it without getting paid. They're not going to wait for the buyer to pay when they get there. In most cases, the seller will prepay the freight, and then the buyer is going to reimburse that. So this often will appear on the invoice somewhere that the seller prepaid a certain amount of freight, so that when the buyer pays that invoice, they have to pay the amount, that net price, plus they have to pay that reimbursement for the freight. Let's look at the notation now for the discount and credit period. So the notation that we would see for this would often look something like this: 210 net 30. So that's 2/10 comma n/30. What that is saying is there's a 2% discount if paid in the first 10 days. That is from the invoice date. The N says the net amount is due. $30 days from the invoice date. So there are a lot of buyers that might make this in a couple of payments. If they can't afford to pay the whole bill, they'll pay part of the bill during the discount period just to get some of that discount, and then what's left over, the net amount, is due by the end of that credit period. What I typically do is I will draw out a number line. So let's say our invoice date from up above here was May 18th, 2019. So my number line is going to start at May 18th. If my conditions are 210 net 30 as I have up here, there's a 10-day discount period. That's going to put us to May 28th. In that period of time, if you pay, there is a 2% discount. And then we have this final date over here. This is the end. So this here that we just labeled is the end of discount period. Over here then, that's the final date. That's the end of the credit period. You have to have the whole bill paid by that point, and that date, because it's net 30, is 30 days from this invoice date of May 18th. 30 days from May 18th would be June 17th. Now, if you don't have your days of a month memorized and stuff like that, there are calendars you can use for finding that. What I've got right here is actually kind of a calendar, but it's the numbered days of the year. And you can see it shows all of the months and their date and what day out of the year it is. For example, May 18th. You would look, oops, get rid of that. So the month of May is right here. Go down to the 18th is right there. That is May 18th is the 138th day of the year. So you'd look at our calendar, you could actually mark this as the 138th day of the year. Well, adding 10 to that, that would make this the 148th day of the year. Adding 30 to that would make this the 168th day of the year. So you could reverse it. Day 168, I go here, there's 168 right there. That's in the month of June, and 168 is the 17th. So you can use that numbered calendar to find those dates if you need to. So if we look at this, let's look at a couple of quick examples of how this works. So let's say we've got an invoice dated August 21st. I'm not going to fill in a year here so that this can kind of span years. The amount, we're going to keep this simple. We're just going to say it's $950 is the amount of this invoice. Our terms are going to be 25 net 30. And so what we want to know is how much would be paid on August 30th. So if they pay this bill on August 30th, how much would they have to pay? Let's do our timeline. Remember, our timeline starts at the invoice date. That's the August 21st date. It's a 2-5, which means we have 5 days for the end of the discount period. I'm just going to put end discount. So that would be 5 days plus that would be August 26th. The end of the credit period would be 30 days past that August 21st date. Let's go to our little numbered calendar just to practice using it. So we've got August 21st is 233. So 233 plus 30 is 263. You can see that's September 20th. So that's the end of our credit period. Our payment on August 30th falls in here. So it's outside the discount period, but it is within the credit period, so there's no interest charged. So the amount paid is going to be the full invoice amount of $950. Let's take an invoice dated June 27th for an amount of, let's go $480. Terms, we're going to go 110, net 30. So I know how much would be paid. On July 1st. So if we do our timeline again, we start on June 27th. We have that 10-day credit period now. We get 1% discount. 10 days from June 27th is July 7th. And then 30 days, net 30, brings us to July 27th. That would be the end of the credit period. So our July 1st falls in here, well within the discount period. It actually falls closer to here. So we get a 1% discount. Now, just like we did with our trade discounts, we're going to use a complement. A 1% discount the complement of that is 100% minus 1%. That's 99% paid. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our invoiced amount of $480 and multiply by 0.99. Giving us $475.20. Is the amount that's going to be paid if it is paid on July 1st during that discount period. So that is the invoicing and payments within the discounts and credit periods of an invoice.